Remember when we all underestimated Yuji? Those days are long gone. Now, he's proven himself to be an outstanding protagonist. The latest chapter really shows this. While we expected Yuta to take charge, it was Yuji who blew us away. He even used Sukuna's dismantle at a high level and pushed his limits like never before. How did he do it? Yuji used a binding vow, which is the focus of this video. We'll dive into what this binding vow is, why Yuji decided to use it, and what restrictions he imposed on himself to make it happen. Let's start with what exactly Yuji's binding vow is. His binding vow allowed him to use dismantle to precisely target and hit Sukuna's soul to separate from Megumi's. He was so precise and effective that Sukuna had to spit out some of his fingers and then swallow them again just to keep control over Megumi. Impressive, right? But why did Yuji resort to such a drastic technique? His usual method of attacking opponents' souls wasn't effective enough against Sukuna. It just wasn't reliable enough against him. So, Yuji made a binding vow to enhance his technique, and it paid off. Sukuna has never been in such a bad way, and weakening his soul was crucial for preparing the stage for the angel and her Jacob's ladder. Okay, it worked, but every binding vow in Jujutsu Kaisen comes with a cost, which can be quite steep depending on the power of the technique. Given the damage Yuji inflicted on Sukuna, we can infer that this technique is extremely powerful. So, what did Yuji sacrifice to use dismantle with such effectiveness? I've narrowed it down to two main hypotheses. Yuji might have sacrificed one of his other techniques. This makes sense because he now has several techniques at his disposal. Or he could have made the binding vow impulsively, without fully considering the consequences, which will become clear at the end of the fight. This seems likely, since Yuji is driven by a strong desire to save Megumi. In his emotional state, especially after losing Choso, he might not have thought everything through. But sacrificing a technique remains a plausible theory. Yuji has several techniques from Sukuna, and this is likely the toughest battle he'll ever face. Sacrificing a technique to defeat Sukuna, his ultimate opponent, seems like a reasonable move. Especially since you can impose a restriction on yourself for a limited period of time, and perhaps you don't have to lose your technique forever. So, if Yuji did sacrifice one of his techniques, which one would it be? It should be a technique that wouldn't heavily impact his current fight against Sukuna. Blood manipulation seems like the perfect candidate here. Yuji doesn't fully master blood manipulation, and it hasn't been very useful in this fight except for healing. At this stage, healing isn't as critical since we're nearing the end. Sukuna is on the brink of defeat. Just a bit more effort is needed to finish him off. Yuji stands to gain more by sacrificing blood manipulation, especially since he can learn other healing methods. One thing's for sure, he's determined not only to defeat Sukuna, but also to save Megumi. Binding vow or not, you can count on him to give it his all. Like this video if you think Yuji made the right choice. Subscribe for more Jujutsu Kaisen breakdowns.